The Doctor in the TARDIS. Next stop everywhere.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Charles Skaggs, back in the TARDIS, ready to talk more Modern Who with my wonderful partner in time, wonderful friend, and someone who's ready to celebrate Thanksgiving, Jesse Jackson. How you doing, Jesse?
I am great, Charles. I hope you are ready to celebrate Thanksgiving as well. So, as I've mentioned before, I don't often go back and watch Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And so this was a very pleasant surprise to me because I did not remember Martha as a special guest companion.
Yes.
So I was like, whoa, whoa. So,
See, Doctor Who even had their own special guest companions, just like we do. Yes.
Yeah, so I am really looking forward to talking to this one, not only because it's a great episode, but we have the return of one of our favorite guest companions.
Yes. So here at episode 210, we are joined once again by someone who we talked previously when we talked the Doctor Who classic story, Shada. Shada. So everyone, please welcome back to Next Stop Everywhere, Dave Proctor. How you doing, Dave?
Hey. Glad to see everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you too, Dave. Really appreciate you joining us once again. I know initially that you're a little concerned about whether you might be able to make it, but I guess your schedule opened up without going into too much detail, and so it kind of worked out for us that you were able to come back. So I'm very happy that
wide open.
Yep. So I understand. My wife's schedule is equally wide open right now. So yeah, I kind of feel you a little bit. So here at episode 210, everyone, we're going to be talking The Doctor's Daughter. And this is a fun one from Series 4. This was the 6th episode from Series 4 in 2008, written by Stephen Greenhorn, who wrote the previous episode, The Lazarus Experiment. That was a fun one. And directed by Alice Troughton. And if that name Troughton sounds familiar, well, I have some bad news for you, but I'm going to save it for our trivia section. So if you're kind of thinking that maybe The Doctor's Daughter was directed by The Doctor's Daughter, not so much, as it turns out. But it would have been awesome had that happen, right?
Indeed.
So this was, of course, starring David Tennant as the 10th Doctor and Catherine Tate as Donna Noble. And Jesse's obviously very excited to talk about this. I hope Dave's excited to talk about it.
Oh, I am.
But I'm really, really looking forward to the discussion, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about. So I hope everybody feels likewise. A guest cast this time, we had, of course, as Jesse mentioned, Freema Agyeman returning as Martha Jones, one of our favorite companions from the modern era. And I guess we would be remiss if we didn't talk about a certain Georgia Moffat, nee Tennant, in this story, as she's later known after marrying a certain David Tennant. Maybe you've heard of him. But yeah, she plays Jenny in this story, and she's done some other Doctor Who work. She's played a character named Tanya Webster in the Big Finish 5th Doctor audio, Red Dawn, where she got to act with, of course, with her father, Peter Davison, my doctor. And she played a character named Cassie Rice in a Doctor Who animated special called Dreamland, which was released on home video a few years back. And she also turned up once again with a bunch of other Doctor Who stars and Doctor Who fans in the Five-ish Doctors reboot. So for being the actual Doctor's daughter and sort of the Doctor's wife, I guess now you can also call her as well.
And didn't David Tennant say one time that his doctor was
Peter
his
Davison.
father-in-law?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So essentially David Tennant did the ultimate fanboy move by marrying the daughter of his childhood idol.
Yes.
That's a little creepy, isn't it? Just a bit? A little stalkerish, maybe?
When we get to discussing our first topic,
yeah.
It was hard for me to forget that fact while watching the episode, and so I'll package that to discuss when we get to that point.
Yeah.
And I got to say, I loved Eddie Van Halen growing up, but if I had a chance to go out with Valerie Bertinelli, I'd have kicked him right to the curb and listened to him play as I drove off.
You would have pushed him right in front of that bus just to make that happen, I guess, right?
Maybe.
Rest in peace, Eddie, by the way. He passed not too long ago. I'm a big Van Halen fan, not so much a Van Hagar fan, if you know the difference. Yes.
Indeed.
And we also had Nigel Terry playing General Cobb in the story. And he was notable because he played, King Arthur in the movie Excalibur from 1980, which is a great movie from back in the day. Very cool take. Probably the best take on Arthurian literature that we've had. Probably since 1980, I guess, because it was one of the more faithful approaches, even though, there are just some discrepancies, of course, with Arthurian literature. But by and large, compared to a lot of other productions, it's one of the more faithful, I guess.
That's not the one with Sean Connery, is it?
No. That was First Night you're thinking of. Yeah. He played King Arthur in First Night. Yeah, so I get your confusion. And rest in peace, Sean Connery, by the way. So now you mention that. Everybody's dying, unfortunately. 2020, Shakes Fest. He also appeared in the movie The Lion in Winter, which is a really great film, if you've ever seen it. It has Anthony Hopkins in it, Katharine Hepburn, great film. And he was also in the movie Troy, if you've seen that movie as well. And then we also had another actor in this story, Joe Dempsey, who played Klein. He was the guy who... one of the probably the only other notable human military guy, that ends up getting kind of suckered in by Jenny as she flirts with him behind the bars to, make her escape from the cell. Jesse probably recognizes him because he played a character named Gendry, as in Gendry, son of Robert Baratheon, the bastard son of Robert Baratheon on Game of Thrones.
He did look familiar. That's right. Good catch.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty interesting. I had to mention that because, if nothing else, because my wife's currently binge watching through Game of Thrones right now. So he's doing a binge rewatch on that one. Trivia.
I hope it ends better this time.
Yeah, hopefully.
Sorry.
Well, I kind of liked the ending. I was okay with it, but I know a lot of people weren't. But I thought it made sense perfectly. Trivia this time. Georgia Moffat, who, like I said, is now Georgia Tennant. She's the daughter of Fifth Doctor Peter Davison. Also, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy actress Sandra Dickinson, who played Trillian, and that was the original BBC miniseries from the 80s. And apparently she started dating David Tennant after filming the episode, and they got married on December 30th, 2011. So they're coming up on their 10th year anniversary next year. And then promptly proceeded to procreate 4 kids in the process. So we've got at least 4 more future doctors possibly down the road. And like I said, director Alice Troughton is not related to Patrick Troughton, sadly. Although that would have been awesome, like I said, because they have the doctor's daughter directing the doctor's daughter, really. But interestingly, Alice Troughton, I thought I mentioned this, is the only other person after Colin Teague to direct episodes of Doctor Who, Torchwood, and the Sarah Jane Adventures, which is a pretty special credit to her, I would think. That she kind of got the Doctor Who trifecta on that one. And apparently only 2 people have done it, so it's pretty impressive. And if you're wondering about Jenny coming back to life, if that was included in the original script, well, apparently the decision to have her come back to life at the end was actually Stephen Moffat's idea. So I don't know if he wanted to use her at some point but never did, or he just didn't like the idea that she was going to fade away into non-existence after that. But of course, if you're a Big Finish audio fan, you know that Georgia Tennant has reprised Jenny on Big Finish Audios in her own Big Finish audio series. So if you're looking for more Jenny, the Doctor's daughter, you should check out Big Finish. And I think you'd be well entertained. Everybody's quiet today. Nobody wants to chime in, I guess.
Well, I was trying to keep my noise down.
I appreciate
Yes,
that.
I was doing this. Yes, we're trying not to distract you,
I
Charles.
appreciate that. I guess I kind of asked for that, didn't I? All right. You just can't. I guess I can't have it both ways. Oh, all right. So 3 topics today. Topic number 1. Let's talk the doctor, of course. Let's talk the doctor's daughter, Jenny, and let's talk Donna because they kind of spend most of the episode together. So I thought it kind of made sense to group them in their own segment, their own storyline. So, Dave, why don't we start with you first, since you're our special guest. What did you make of the introduction of Jenny in this story and her interactions with the doctor and Donna kind of mediating the whole thing in the process?
Well, I tell you, the way she was brought about insisted that she had to be quick on the learning curve or she would just be useless. So she walks out ready for combat. What else she has in her head, I don't know, but she doesn't know her name or anything like that. But she's watching the doctor, and she is continuously learning from him. She all she thinks is being a warrior at first, and then she goes on and develops more and more to be more and more like him, and very proud of it.
It's almost
So
like she It's almost like she imprints on him a little bit. You know, like a baby
so.
bird imprinting on a mother bird or what have you.
I do. I think that's a really good analogy, Charles, that she does seem to pick up some of his characteristics and really wants to absorb that with him.
Not to mention his desire to show off a little bit. Like when they get to the lasers, she can't just figure out an easy way. She's got to do it in a show off way. And that's definitely a doctor sort of thing.
Yes.
Watch this. Hold my sonic screwdriver.
Although I don't remember the doctor doing backflips at any particular point in time, but
not quite. But
but maybe that was just something that the other DNA rolling around in her she was able to do. But apparently they downloaded military acrobatics into her consciousness, I guess, when it was formed in the machine. So what did you think of Georgia Tennant as Jenny? Did you think she did a good job?
I thought she did really well. She kind of bridged that gap between somebody new to the world and somebody with some experience, because she had a lot of questions, but she clearly knew what to do in a lot of the circumstances. So I thought she obviously has a fresh face in this. She's very young, and that kind of lets you believe that even though she's clearly, 30, that she's young and new, and but she takes it all in, and she's learning all the time, which what more can you ask in a companion? So, yeah, I thought she did a great job.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. And Jesse, what about you? What did you think of Georgia Moffat and Jenny's introduction?
So I remember this episode and liking it, and so I was excited to watch it again. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good story. The issue I have is because the real world, I know they're a couple, and while Tennant is, I guess he was born in 71. She was born in 84, I think is what I saw. So she is somewhat younger than him, not that much younger. So it was a little weird for me, their chemistry.
Yeah.
Because it did not look like a father-daughter,
You thought he was too close to her age to really seem like yeah.
And I also think knowing in real life that they are a couple, gave tinted my viewing. So I will gladly.
Did it pull you out of the story?
Yeah, just a little bit.
You know what?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say I thought that he wanted to act like he didn't like her and then kind of grew on her. I thought that sort of covered up any weirdness like that. You know what I mean? Because he was clearly showing an emotion and acting a different one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And I do like the fact that she won him over, and at the end he was very proud of her, and he was excited about traveling with her, and then very angry. She is dynamic in the role, and they obviously have great chemistry. I don't think I was shocked, and I don't think anyone else would be, that a year later you find out they're dating, right? Because there was some chemistry between these people. I agree with you, Charles. I think it's a shame, and all apologies to Big Finish, that she wasn't in a Doctor Who episode proper. I mean, if there ever was a character to be brought back, similar to how, we've had other characters come back, it seems a shame that we never got Jenny back again, just at least somehow. And I don't know if that's just because they couldn't think of a story, or, if she was too busy, the actress, but I felt that's a shame. I also continue to, switching over to Donna, I've been very vocal when we first started this that I was not a Donna fan. And every time we go back and watch a episode, I go, God, I was an idiot.
Are you liking Donna more and more?
More and more. I just really like her. I think, I didn't get Catherine Tate, but now then I adore her performance. I think she is just a wonderful companion. I love the way she gives crap to the Doctor, and I love the ongoing, bit that, oh no, we're not a couple. No, like every few episodes.
The running gag.
It's a running gag. It's a funny running gag. And she's good. And I also love how protective she was immediately about Martha. That when Martha is separated, she isn't collateral damage. She's very protective of Martha. No jealousy whatsoever. Like, the more the merriers in the TARDIS, and let's go.
If it was Rose instead, Rose would be very jealous of Martha.
Yes, exactly.
So, but Donna being a more,
as she was with Sarah Jane.
Exactly.
Yes.
So in the school reunion, but Donna being older, more mature, and not being like infatuated with the Doctor, romantically, that she doesn't see Martha as a threat and would just say, "Oh, hey, she seems nice," and welcome her aboard.
Yeah, and it's I didn't write it down. I have a couple of quotes, but like when Donna says something about it's funny, exciting, and scary, and sometimes all three at the same time, or whatever the three.
Yeah.
I love how she appreciates life in the TARDIS, and then
I do have that quote, by the way. I think
good.
when she's she's talking to Jenny.
Yeah.
And kind of describing what the Doctor does. Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got that.
Yes. And I love, and it's always good to see David Tennant again. He is, by far, he was my first love in the Doctor. He is my Doctor. And it's so great to see him again. And the three of them do spend most of the time together. And when we get to our second topic, I'll have some comments about that. But this was a fun trio. They had a nice interaction, and it was neat to see, them giving Jenny her name, and also seeing her learn, as Dave talked about. She's adapting, she's learning. She starts out as this machine. She was built just to be a fighter, just to be a military person, a G.I. Jane, as Donna calls her, and she quickly becomes something else. So that was really cool. It was a neat episode. How about you, Charles?
Yeah, Georgia Moffat, for really making her Doctor Who debut in this, I think she does a fabulous job. She has one of the, she has a great screen charisma. She just lights up the screen when she comes on. And, she's got this great smile, and Jenny has this great upbeat attitude. You can't help but like her. And even the Doctor, who's trying to be resistant to the whole idea, he's still tormented because he lost his actual family on Gallifrey through circumstances we still don't know. And, and the whole events of the Time War, he's still coming off that. So he's very reluctant to call someone his daughter, especially when it's just, she's just a clone of him or grown from him in his DNA. And so, but obviously Jenny, being Jenny, she wins him over throughout as she progresses through the episode, and he comes to appreciate her and actually does kind of consider her a doctor or his daughter. And to the point where by the end of the episode, when she's shot by Cobb, he is outraged. And we'll obviously talk more about that, but when we talk about Cobb, but yeah, he's angry by this. So he comes to like her and feels very strongly about her very, very quickly through this episode. And maybe it's just because of that genetic connection. I'm not sure why he started feeling so much for her so quickly, but he's always kind of been that way. He's one of those, like he knows who to care for almost. And Jenny, like I said, is very hard to resist.
Yeah, I mean, one of the consistent traits of the Doctor, no matter what what regeneration he's on, he picks up strays, right? And
Right.
we've talked about that in the past very quickly and develops affection. And so I think seeing how much she's trying to learn and how she's trying to be better is, going to play to his soft side. And I do think it's a great scene. I do agree. I don't know that Time Lord DNA gives you super gymnastics power, but her doing that and his pride in her was a really cool scene, right? Like there is that fatherly pride there of, when you see your child do something, whether it's, in Little League or graduating high school or college, or even like when I worked with Chris in business, someone would give a compliment to him and there'd be that pride in him.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really nice.
So I just got thinking, go ahead. Go ahead, Dave.
Just real quick. The Doctor said at one time, too, he was trying to explain to one of his companions about what it was like to be him. And he lives basically forever. I know he's not immortal, but compared to humans, he lives ridiculously long. And he doesn't know Jenny's nature. So he doesn't know, is she potentially like him, or is she just, she's made in that machine that makes humans. So he has to be careful about making attachments. He's grown to regret it sometimes. He was ripped apart when Rose left. So he has to be real careful. And he does form friendships somewhat quickly when he realizes someone's worthy, but to make a lifelong commitment with someone, look how long he fought River Song as a companion.
Right.
He has to be real careful with that, because everybody he's known pretty much is gone or will leave in like a blink of an eye.
Yeah, so that's actually something that, I was thinking about while we were talking. So there's this great moment where the Doctor confides to Donna that he used to be a father. And this is something that she didn't know, obviously, before this episode. So, and she's stunned by it. She's like, you travel with us, but you don't tell us anything. So what did you guys make of that moment? Because I thought it was a pretty powerful one that, he's talking about how, he lost his family on Gallifrey and he's tormented by the Time War. And I thought that was a nice little moment that probably a rare moment that Donna kind of got to learn something about the Doctor, because he's normally so guarded.
Yeah.
The Doctor has a lot. The Doctor has a lot to keep to himself. He's got a lot of trouble in his background. All the things we've seen, plus the Time War, plus his whole family being gone, and everybody ever known being gone. He's I've heard this term, and I kind of identified with it myself. An extroverted introvert.
Okay.
He doesn't make those close connections all the time, and he likes to be private. But instead of withdrawing into that shell, he acts like he's all gregarious and being out there in front of everybody. But he must control the context. He must be the one that we'll talk about this. I will dazzle you with all this stuff. So please don't ask me personal stuff. No, look at this over.
Yeah.
That's why he's always constantly trying to find someone and doesn't like to be alone.
Yeah.
So.
I can relate to that personally. Because
Absolutely.
I think I'm kind of that guy.
Yeah. And
me too.
What's interesting is you have to remember that the Doctor is much older than he looks.
Right.
Right. And so it is, when they established the show, the first Doctor did look like a grandpa. And in fact, we had his granddaughter, and it was but
Susan,
as the years have gone, for various reasons, we have gotten younger and younger doctors. And so it would be – I could see why Donna would be kind of shocked. Like, what do you mean you've had a family? And
you never talk about it. I mean, there's no pictures lying around the TARDIS. Yeah. And there's no and I do think that's a fair – criticism that, she's sharing that, hey, you and I are buds, you and I are traveling, in times when we're traveling in the TARDIS, it seems like you would share a little bit of yourself. And I thought that was a really well-written scene. I thought it was very poignant and kind of to talk about, and you probably can remember this quote offhand, Charles, because you are the Dr. Whisperer, right? But there's the soliloquy where one of the doctors is like alone, always alone. Right.
I think that was it Smith's doctor? But anyway, where it was something like, it's a Time Lord. I'm destined to be alone, always alone.
Right.
And I think that was echoed in that performance there.
Yeah, I think so. I think the Doctor, and we've kind of seen this in various episodes, that the Doctor doesn't share unless the Doctor wants to share. And is very guarded. For whatever doctorish reasons. Either it's just too painful for him or her to talk about, or it's just, he's so distracted by everything else. The whole, I want to go on to the next adventure, and being constantly on the move, that he doesn't have time to think about it. So maybe, all that running is that he's running away from his past.
We all know people who can't relax.
Yeah.
Well, and I also think, often, as I've reached my age now, there are things I can't remember, and I'm only 61.
Yeah.
Right? So to be 900 or 1,000, even though if you have a Time Lord brain, you assume you have a better memory system, but there is just the idea of things that, and not that you would forget your family, but there's a lot of life that's happened to him.
Yeah.
And I do think he focuses on the future and not necessarily the past, because there is a lot of death and pain and loss in his past, so he wants to focus on the future.
Yeah.
And we all know that stuff burns in harder. So even doubly so, you want to think about happy stuff.
Right. And, obviously with the concept of regeneration, when the Doctor's brain essentially reformats every time he or she regenerates, it's, I'm sure some things get lost along the way. And the important stuff is probably still there, but as we've seen sometimes, after regenerations, that things kind of get a little scattered, and sometimes things just kind of fall by the wayside, and maybe that's intentional in a lot of ways, so that the Doctor doesn't have to bear all the pain of living that long. But I have to think that some important memories are probably also lost along the way.
So basically, Charles, we're saying that when we have a deja vu
Yes.
moment, it's in our past lives. We're all secretly
Right,
Time Lords,
right.
and that was in our previous lives.
See,
It's
instead of
remembering backwards.
having a senior moment, you're just having a Time Lord moment. How's that? I think that's a much nicer way to say it, don't you?
I love that. Thank you, Charles.
All right, you're welcome. All right.
Wasn't it the Fourth Doctor that said deja vu is when you remember something before it happens?
Something like that. Yeah, that sounds about right. And Dave is wearing his Fourth Doctor scarf, by the way. So
Yes,
he
is.
We got to give him props here. All right, as he's playing with his microphone. All right, so
It fell loose.
microphone. All right. So anybody have anything else they want to talk about the Doctor, Jenny, or Donna before we move on?
No, I don't think so. I'm good.
Dave, you're good? All right.
Yes,
All right.
I'm good.
All right. So let's move on. Topic number 2. Let's talk Martha and the Hath. And Martha, for me, in this episode is pretty interesting, but I kind of wondered why she's even in this episode, because the way the story is structured is that essentially Martha is quickly excised from the group to have her own thing, and she doesn't really factor into everything else going on in the story. It's revolved around the Doctor, Jenny, and Donna. And so Martha is just kind of like excess weight, really, and doesn't really contribute much to this story, apart from just she goes out, she's taken by the Hath, and then, she kind of wins them over by fixing the shoulder of one of the Hath, and then she goes out on the surface to try to get back to the Doctor and Donna, and she ends up falling in quicksand, and the Hath guy that she's made friends with jumps in and saves her at the expense of his own life. And that's pretty much it. So it's, and then, the end of the episode, Martha gets dropped off, and it's like, goodbye, see ya. So it's not even much of a goodbye scene between her and the Doctor, really, either. So, Jesse, let's start with you. I know I kind of threw a lot out there to talk about.
No. I understand.
Just a lot of stuff that was kind of on my mind.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah. So I see your point, and so here's how when I was watching the episode, and you can argue whether they succeeded or not, but I felt they were trying to tell both sides of the conflict. So the Doctor was with Jenny, and Martha was on the humans, and then Martha humanized the Have, and so that you get to know them, and well, they're not necessarily
bad
a
people.
monster. They're not a bad people, and so when you get them together, you are almost more empathetic and sympathetic for them because of Martha working with them.
Yeah.
And so that's what I felt like she added to that story by splitting them. We got that, and so that instead of, not that Doctor Who normally does, aliens bad, we've got to defeat them all the time. There's often a twist, and this time it definitely was humans bad, aliens good, and working through that. So I was okay with that. But I'm quick to say, Martha is one of my favorite companions, so anytime I can spend with Martha,
right,
I'm very happy. And by the way, Freeman looked really good.
Freema, yeah.
Freema, she is, and I love that.
She got a new jacket.
Yes, and she's a doctor. That's one of the reasons why she's one of my favorite companions, because she brings something to that, figuring out, this is a shoulder. Okay, I think I can do this. And I thought the scene where he sacrificed himself for her was very touching. And by the way,
I didn't have a problem with that. I mean, I thought it was done well.
Yeah.
But and you cared for the Hath that gave his life to save her, but my whole gripe is that if you're going to have Martha back on Doctor Who, she should be interacting more with the Doctor.
And I think that's a fair get.
That's my get.
Yeah,
That's my
I
gripe.
really like the villain. I mean, I really like the alien, though. I thought it was a good look.
Yeah.
The water breathing
The
kind of.
bubbly
Yeah,
little mouth
yeah.
tank.
I thought
Yeah.
that looked really good. So yeah. So Dave, how about you?
Well, first of all, since you were just talking about it, I love the Hath's breathing apparatus. We always show up on planets where everybody can just walk out the door and breathe. It's so
Yeah.
rare that they need a spacesuit. Well, now we've met an alien that grew up somewhere else. I thought Martha was very valuable in this. Martha, most war pictures or war stories you see either doesn't show the enemy at all,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just getting shot at by unseen people, or they yell some foreign language at you and someone dies, or they'll show them as being evil, and you got to show the leader making some horrible Cobra Commander speech or something along those lines. They chose to go a whole different route, which shows some flexibility with the writers, and they came up with, we will see a lot of the enemy, and they won't say a word. So they needed somebody to kind of make that interesting. We could have walking around in circles, looking at the map, doing all those things.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have got anything of it. So she served a purpose there. But she also served a purpose to the Hath in showing that, oh God, the word humanity, the limits of the English language. She showed that there was goodness.
Yes.
This is a human. She is an enemy, but look, she wants to help me. And she's
Not all
going to
humans
do
are
this
bad,
first.
that kind of thing.
Yeah. So it makes you kind of think about yourself. Would you have helped the enemy? Would you have done what she did? And I liked her. They didn't. I mean, when she left the doctor in the first place, it was because she loved the doctor and couldn't get with him. So
The
now she's
unrequited
thrown
love,
back in
yeah.
that. So it had to be uncomfortable for her in that sense. So giving that whole other thing, but her bravery for going that other route, for figuring some things out, and not needing to lean on the doctor's direction the whole time was those are strengths she has. She, more than a lot of the other companions in the overall show, has shown an independence when she comes back in that one where she has to save the world and all these other things.
But she was like leading this resistance without the doctor,
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's kind of to her credit
Indeed.
that, and the whole business with the Osterhagen key and all that. Yeah. Just that, she does have that independence. And I think that's one of the things I personally like about Martha. Yeah. And, and I like the fact that she got to use her medical training on the Hath. So, putting that to good use, because that's one of her character traits, is that she's a healer, a doctor, a traditional doctor, and not the timey-wimey one. And although she just kind of does the timey-wimey on the side, right? But
Right.
but she's capable of being independent. And I thought Dave, that was a great point that you had. And I love Jesse's point that Martha humanized the Hath for the audience. I think that's a great point, because like Dave said, they would just been like bubble, 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 and you're just being kind of odd looking, and you wouldn't really come to appreciate them. But then when they start, they're all like that moment when they're all thankful to Martha after she heals Peck, that one Hath that sacrifices himself later. They're just kind of like, they're all touching her head and patting her shoulders or whatever, and they're just like, hey, she's cool. She helped one of us. So, and they were very friendly toward her. And I thought that was a nice little moment, and a great little way, like Jesse said, to humanize the Hath for the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And make them more sympathetic, I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
Indeed.
Anything else about Martha or the Hath from anybody?
So I like the idea that they showed she had an engagement ring. Mm-hmm. And so I do not remember the previous two episodes if they...
Wasn't the guy's name Thomas, if I remember correctly? I can't remember.
I don't remember. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, she's moved on. She has her own life, and I thought that was a nice scene.
Yeah.
And I do agree. You would have liked to seen a little bit more Dr. Martha, but I was thinking maybe the previous 2 episodes we got more of it, and so that was why maybe we didn't get as much this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she does end up on Torchwood for a bit, so.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is not the last we see of Dr. Martha Jones, thankfully.
No.
All right. Topic number 3, final topic this week. Cobb and Klein. See what I did there? Cobb
Yes,
and Klein?
indeed.
Yeah. Yeah, so General Cobb and his little lackey guy Klein, the probably the only other soldier that matters in this story. General Cobb. One of the interesting things about this story is that we find that we learn that the cloned humans and the cloned Hath, the ones that kind of keep getting recreated, they keep creating more and more of each other over and over to fight this war, and they feel that this war has been going on forever. When we learn that, oh, hey, it's only been going on just 7 days.
Right.
Now, I have to wonder, how fast do these bodies get killed for people to, in 7 days forget everything that happened? They talk about there's all these generations and generations that they've created in this battle, but since it's only been 7 days, I don't know how long the days last on the planet Messaline, but I got to think that it wouldn't be that long to remember everything that happened.
So my timing, my hand wave in
Am I just alone in feeling this?
I think you're right. And my hand wave in honor of Karen is that they, every 12 hours, I'm thinking they totally wipe out the whole, within 12 hours, you've recycled the whole army. Or, or maybe 18 hours. So, the oldest person who lived has only been 18 hours, then he dies, and they're constantly re-triggering. Now, what I don't...
Nobody bothered to write anything down in the meantime, I guess?
No, and so...
they don't even know what the numbers mean anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
And you got to think, though, they're all, they're a copy of a copy of a copy.
Yeah.
So therefore, they have nothing except fighting skills. You do wonder how Cobb got to be so old. Was he just when they cloned him, he immediately was that old? So it was a nice twist.
Unless he's one of them, a couple of generations ago. I don't know. Maybe they burn through their bodies fast. I don't know.
What? Yeah, maybe he's 3 days old, and that's they ate a day. I think
either that or you make a copy of something old. I mean, if you spill coffee on a document and you put it in the copier, it's going to come out with a coffee stain. So maybe carries on some memory.
And I do think this is one of those where. You have to hand wave, right? Because if you look at it too much, not even under a microscope, just pull it up to the light, you go, hey, wait a minute, right?
Right.
So, but it was a nice twist.
It's Doctor Who, you roll with it, we like to say on this show. Yes. Go ahead.
One quick, and then I'll. I loved seeing the angry Doctor, which brought me back to actually forward in a timey-wimey way, the Waters of Mars, right? That anger, Tennant playing it that angry. It was great seeing him angry, and this immediately picking up the gun and pointing it, and they're all afraid, and then him, I would never do it. Base this society on that. I loved seeing his anger, and I do think that Cobb,
the Doctor getting his moral outrage, get on his moral outrage soapbox a little bit.
Yeah, and Cobb was he was obsessed, right? You become focused on the end task, and it's, we can have peace when we can win, right? I have to reach this point, then we'll have peace, not okay, Tennant, the doctor makes it like, why don't we just quit fighting? Then we can have peace. And there's like, no, we can't do that. So I thought that was an interesting twist.
Yeah, Cobb gets kind of mad. He's like, what do you mean I can't kill the Hath? I'm supposed to kill the Hath. And
Yes.
I'm not down with this peace thing. So I'm going to kill you. And then Jenny ends up taking the bullet instead.
Yeah.
And as Dave points out, it's a not very bloody mess in the process.
No, not at all.
Magically, it's invisible blood apparently.
So why did you think it took so long for her to regenerate? And why did she not regenerate? She just healed.
Yeah. Well, that's two interesting things. So my take on that is that, and I'll let Dave have his shot here in a minute. Don't worry, Dave. You're gonna chime in on this one. I could tell you're like champing at the bit there
I wrote some notes on this.
All right. So my take on this is that because it's not just pure Time Lord DNA in Jenny's mix. She's not, it's kind of like, because with all the other, downloads of knowledge about guns and weaponry and whatnot that gets downloaded into her brain, there's probably, there could be some residue in the machine for all we know that could have got mixed in, or that maybe, in order to keep the process, that this particular process of regeneration or progeneration or whatever, progenation, that's it, progenation, that because of the way that process goes, that maybe they use, they've got a base sample and then they add the Time Lord DNA on top of that and mix it in a little bit. So she's not exactly like the Doctor. And so interestingly, when she finally does regenerate, and it is a delayed regeneration, but when she does regenerate, interestingly, she doesn't regenerate with a different face and it's a different actress. She gets to keep the same face. So presumably, Jenny could just keep getting killed over and over and over again, and like Captain Jack, come back with the same face. So essentially, like Jack, she's immortal as far as we know. We don't know if she has a time limit or a regeneration limit of 13, but like the Doctor used to have. But so theoretically, he used to have. But theoretically, Jenny is immortal like Captain Jack. So Dave, what are your thoughts on this? Since you took such studious notes.
Well, it actually occurred to me while you were talking about this. Another thought that I'm going to jump to before I go to what I had written down. Mm-hmm. But you remember what other Doctor had a really delayed regeneration? He didn't know if it was going to work or not. It's different this time. Peter Davison.
Yeah, that would be for Davison. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So maybe an homage, but
perhaps.
So the general was worn out. He's definitely more than 7 days old, unless he was made old. So you're right. Maybe the machine didn't know how to make it right, so maybe it was just different. But also, Romana showed that female Time Lords can choose what they look like. David Tennant, when he regenerates, he actually regenerates in the middle there and looks the same, heals himself and looks the same. So there's all kinds of rules about it. And don't forget that the Fourth Doctor, when he changed, there's the Watcher thing. So even though there's a norm, there's also a lot of anomalies that can come in. Yeah. So
you bring up a good point, Dave. Yeah, you do bring up, because there have been some changes.
If you cut one of them in half, if you cut one of them in half, do you get two? I mean, do they both regenerate? Like Wolverine question. I mean, who knows?
Well, that's a good question. I kind of like the theory that whatever part the brain is in, that's the part that regenerates,
top to bottom.
Yeah, if you split it in half, that would be an interesting, like right down from the top to bottom, like you said, and did a complete bisection. That's a good question. Maybe the Master, that's one of the things the Master will toy with one of these days. We'll get a bisection of the Doctor, perhaps, and maybe we'll get two Doctors as a result. Who knows? That's a good question. It's a very good question.
Didn't the Master also violate number of regenerations?
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't he done in the movie with McGann?
Yeah, that was he reached the end of his regeneration cycle, and didn't get a fresh set like Matt Smith's Doctor, the 11th Doctor, did at the end of the time of the Doctor. But so the Master has been kind of scrambling ever since, I think, or maybe got a new life cycle as a result of what happened in the Time War.
Well, when he regenerates,
because they did offer him a new life cycle in the 5 Doctors. Yeah,
you remember when they were burning his body? The Doctor burned his body. And that thing came out of the ring and made him come back. Yeah, so it's whatever they want.
All Flash Gordon, like Ming the Merciless. Yes. All right. Cobb, like I said, is wasn't really happy, and the Doctor, like Jesse pointed out, insisted that this new society that's being formed should be developed on the basis of someone that would never pull that trigger, a more peaceful society, and be kind of curious to check back and see if anything had if that's exactly what happened or if something became worse after that.
It would be interesting to see that, to kind of
follow up.
Where did we leave and what happened? Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, it's one of those that's like you would, I think, almost appreciate an update on this one, especially especially if you could add Jenny to it.
Yeah, I agree.
And catch up with her as well.
Yes.
So, all right. Anything else about this episode?
No, it was a good one.
There was an observation.
What did everybody make before I get? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Dave, but I was just thinking. So, what did everybody make of the scene where Jenny flirts with Klein to get out of the cell? Like Donna wanted to use her feminine wiles, and the Doctor's kind of like talking her out of that. Like maybe that's not the best idea. So Jenny kind of picks up on that.
Actually.
And, yeah, I've got that too. So that's good. All right.
It reminds me of River, right? When she's seducing someone when she's in the jail. So, which is interesting, right? She just really sells that scene. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, Georgia Moffat is just so charismatic. I mean, she just like I said, lights up the screen when she's on, and I'm just like, okay, I'll just watch her for a while, and we'll just let the Doctor go off and do something else for a while. All
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Well, she's different than most of the soldiers in there too. She's at least the cleanest. So, so she, what did they say in the Marine Corps? Adapt, improvise, overcome. Use the tools you have.
Yeah, and apparently in that cloning machine, that progenation machine, somehow she got eyeliner mysteriously. Not sure how that happened. I'm not sure how that's tactical, but she got eyeliner as a result.
I did notice that and went, "That's kind of weird."
Yeah,
like, why was that in there? Yeah. That was, she looked good.
Yeah, well, maybe it's one of those it's kind of a look good, fight good kind of thing, I guess.
Well, he gave her a ponytail instead of just short hair, so I mean there were decisions made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a whole style choice on Jenny's part. Now I'm hoping that since we're only now 3 years to the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who, maybe they could have the 10th Doctor return once again and maybe bring back Jenny. And I think that would be fun.
Well,
to have Jenny in the 60th anniversary.
Yeah, okay.
They often do those stories like the 5 Doctors, the 3 Doctors, the 2 Doctors, and the Day of the Doctor and all of those. Where they bring back ensembles and pieces and parts of the past. That'd be great. There's a lot of people I'd like to see in there. Maybe she and Susan are living in France with Elvis. Who knows?
We know he's still out there because Elvis is everywhere. Elvis is everything. All right. Elvis is everybody. Elvis is still the king. All right. to quote Mojo Nixon. All right. So anything else about this episode that we didn't talk about?
Can't think of anything.
I do have to say one thing. One other thing that made the weird about the colonel in this place was when the colonel goes down after shooting Jenny, the doctor runs over and grabs his gun and wants to shoot him. It's a revolver. That's old technology now. Come on, what's up with that?
Right. And it's the year 6021 or whatever. Yeah. So
yeah, exactly.
6012. You would think they would have something a little more high tech. Yes.
Yeah. I just anachronistic things in a show about anachronistic things.
Yeah. Maybe they just thought it was the audience would recognize it more. I guess I don't know.
Maybe people in Britain don't know the things about guns that we know.
I don't know. Maybe, but it's it's a good point. It is a very good point. All right. So if that's all we have, what's everybody's favorite quotes? Dave mentioned he had some, and I'm guessing Jesse has some. Well, so who wants to go first?
Let me go first because it's brief. Because I am not going to step on yours.
Well, you're our special guest anyway, so you should go first.
Well, I have 3 that I made note of. The very first one in the beginning was Cobb says, "If you try anything, Doctor, your woman dies first." And then they look at each other. No, we're not a couple. And that goes on for a minute. That was one of my favorites.
Yeah, Jesse loves that running gag, like we talked about.
Donna says, "Let me distract this one. I have picked up a few womanly wiles over the years." Doctor says, "Let's save your wiles for later, in case of an emergency."
Yeah, that was good.
That's a big slam because we know the doctor really can't tell when the human is trying to look pretty because when Clara does it, the doctor's like, "What?"
Little clueless about is what you're saying? Yeah.
Indeed.
And what's your final quote?
I know one of you was going to read this one, so I'll go ahead since I'm looking
Go ahead.
at it. It says, Jenny says, "Always thinking, both of you, who are you people?" The doctor says, "I told you, I'm the doctor." Jenny says, "The doctor? That's it?" Donna says, "That's all he ever says." "So you don't have a name either?" Asking Donna. Says, "Are you an anomaly too?" Doctor says, "No." Donna says, "Oh, come off it. You're the most anomalous thing I've ever met, I've ever known." Jenny and Time Lords, what are they for exactly? Doctor says, They're not for anything. "So what do, Doctor?" "I travel through time and space." Donna says, "He saves planets, rescues civilizations, defeats terrible creatures, and runs a lot." Seriously, there's an outrageous amount of running involved. That sums it up right there.
Yes, it does.
The running gag too, as well. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I only have 2.
Okay.
The doctor going, "I'm guessing this thing's not about to check my blood pressure," which is hilarious because it looks like the machine that's at the grocery store where you put your
right.
And then, of course, I love after Martha fixes the shoulder and says, "Now then, I'm Dr. Martha Jones, and who the hell are you?"
Yeah.
I love this. That
like, yeah, Martha.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like Martha lays it down, tells it like it is, and it's just it's Martha's world, and we're just all living in it. Everybody loved it. Okay, let's see what I've got left because you guys took a lot of great quotes there. So let's see. I've got the doctor, Jenny, and Donna, where the doctor says, "But they've got my friend." And Jenny, this is at the beginning of the episode where she says, "Collateral damage. At least you've still got her. He lost both his men. I'd say you came out ahead." And Donna says to that, "Her name's Martha, and she's not collateral damage, not for anyone. Have you got that, G.I. Jane?" I like that a lot.
That's great.
And then the doctor talking to Cobb, saying, hang on. A second ago, it was peace in our time. Now you're talking about genocide." And Cobb replies, "For us, that means the same thing." And the doctor says, "Then you need to get a better dictionary. When you do, look up genocide. You'll see a little picture of me there. And the caption will read, 'Over my dead body.'" That was a good one. And like I said, you guys nicked the other one, so I guess that's it.
There was a Donna quote that was pretty good too, and I didn't write this one down, but it's awesome. When Martha finally rejoins them, Donna looks at her and goes, "What happened to you? Why are you so dirty?" They just been in a war, of course. And she's like, "I took the other path." And I was like, "Wow, that's a telling statement by Donna."
Yeah.
Well, what happened to you? You're dirty.
Well, that was one thing we didn't really talk about, was that Martha was pretty shaken up by the Hath sacrificing himself for her pet.
She was.
And I kind of wonder if
he jumped right to it.
Yeah, it's just he was so selfless about helping her, and paid the price for being trapped in that quicksand. So I think that's something that's gonna maybe that fact kind of factored into her the way she left this episode.
Could be.
Is that she's a little bothered and a little upset by that, the way that turned out.
She's a doctor. She wants to go save lives, not be saved.
Yeah,
that's right.
Exactly. But I thought it was a pretty powerful moment there with her after he had sacrificed himself for her. So
yeah, couldn't he have reached out a rope or his coat or his
I
weapon
thought the same thing.
Something?
Like, okay,
take off a jacket, maybe throw that out there.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So what's everybody's ratings? Dave, why don't we start with you, since you're our special guest? What's everybody's rating?
I didn't write one down, but I have to give this at least an 8.5, and we'll say 8.5 little watery breathing apparatuses, because it had a lot, and it had an extra companion that we had gotten attached to in the past, so I give it an 8.5.
That's a solid score, my friend. All right, Jesse, how about you?
So I liked it a little bit more, just because it's Tennant, it's Martha, it's Donna.
It pushed all the buttons.
It did push all the buttons. So I gave it 9 out of 10 stolen spaceships.
Oh, very nice. That's a good one. Nice. So I'm glad you're coming around on Donna. That's that's the whole purpose of Next Stop Everywhere.
Yes.
We're trying to broaden everybody's horizons and expose you to things. So if we got Jesse on board with Donna, I'd say we're doing our job, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Okay. So I'm with Dave on this one. I'm going 8.5 as well. I'm going to go with 8.5 regenerating Jennies. So
good, very
nice. Either that or Martha's in quicksand. I would, in case somebody stole that one.
Oh, very nice. Good.
But yeah, this is a solid episode and a great outing, and obviously turned out really great for the David Tennant family, as it turns out. So worked out good. All right, reverse the polarity. So Dave, or any speculation on what episode or what story I might recommend from the classic era in relation to the Doctor's daughter? Before I get started, I know I'm putting you on the spot here, so don't feel like you have to come up with something.
The first one that comes to my mind would have been when, and I can't remember the name of it, but when Susan left and the Doctor had to let go.
Oh, the Dalek invasion of Earth. Yeah,
I was going to say it's some kind of Susan story is what I would have picked as well.
Yeah. Well, considering that we had Georgia Moffat in the story, and she's the daughter of a doctor, Peter Davison, I thought it very fitting to do a Peter Davison story. So, but the Dalek Invasion of Earth is a great recommendation. So you should watch that, if only especially for the ending, because that farewell scene between Susan and the Doctor is just so good. But I'm going to go back. We're going to go back to 1984. We reverse the polarity, the neutron flow. Back to season 21, the 6th serial of season 21, The Caves of Androzani. So, written by Robert Holmes. As far as I'm concerned, it's Peter Davison's best story, and I think a lot of Doctor Who fans would probably say that as well. It's one of probably the best stories from the classic era, in a lot of ways. Highly regarded story. But in this one, and you'll probably catch some connections here in addition to the whole Georgia Moffat, Peter Davison thing. The TARDIS lands on Androzani Minor, and the Fifth Doctor and Perry start exploring some caves. They both get caught in a sticky substance, but move on. And the two are soon captured by General Chelak, who heads a military operation and believes them to be aiding gun runners. Chelak communicates their image to Trau Morgus, a businessman overseeing Spectrox mining, but he doesn't recognize them and orders their execution. At the execution, Chelak discovers that Sherazjek, a masked figure disrupting the mining efforts, had replaced them with androids. Now, in Jek's lair, the Doctor and Perry start complaining about an illness, and a fellow prisoner there named Salatine realizes that they've stepped in raw Spectrox, which is lethal. And the antitoxin is in the milk of the queen bat on Androzani Minor. But due to the recent war, so see, there's a war going on, the bats have descended to the deepest levels of the mine that are devoid of oxygen. Now, Sherazjek explains he's at war with Morgus because his actions led to Jek's disfiguration. Jek leaves the two under android guards while he meets with the gunrunners Stotts and Kuiper, but the Doctor reprograms the androids to allow them to escape. They get caught in the middle of a battle, with Perry captured by Chelak, while the Doctor is forced to leave with Stotts and Kuiper. Stotts takes the Doctor to see Morgus directly and communicates with him holographically en route to Androzani Major. Morgus sees the Doctor alive and, believing the military is deceiving him, makes his own arrangements to travel to Androzani Minor to set things right. Now, the Doctor hijacks Stotts' ship and crashes it back on the surface of Androzani Minor, determined to rescue Perry. Like, really determined. Chelak initiates a major attack against Jek's androids, while Jek rescues Perry as she starts to succumb to the Spectrox poisoning. The Doctor, starting to feel the effects, arrives at Jek's base. Jek takes pity on them, directing the Doctor to where he can find the Queen Bat and gives him an oxygen tank. Morgus lands by Stotts' crashed ship and they find Jek's base. Morgus, Stotts, and Jek naturally get into a fight and end up killing each other. Wah, wah. The Doctor finds the Queen Bat and collects the 2 vials of her milk, then returns to the base. He quickly collects Perry just as these mud bursts start going off and struggles to reach the TARDIS. He accidentally drops one of the 2 vials before he can get inside. This is important. He sets the TARDIS in motion and feeds Perry the remaining vial. Perry quickly recovers but finds the Doctor dying on the floor. The Doctor explains there was only enough bat's milk to cure her, and he proceeds to regenerate, with the new 6th Doctor abruptly sitting up with a new face. Perry asks what's happening, and the Doctor replies, "Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon." Ooh-woo!
Very nice.
Yeah,
Yes.
Nice.
So we get a regeneration. We got a war going on. We got Peter Davison. So lots of good stuff there. All right. So if you enjoyed The Doctor's Daughter, and you can't go wrong with the Caves of Androzani. Yes, because it explains the celery because the Doctor is allergic to certain gases in the Praxeus range, and the celery will notify him of this, and then he promptly eats the celery because if nothing else, it's good for his teeth. So.
Yes.
Yeah. So listener feedback. Like I said, we have a new listener writing in. So exciting, right?
Yes.
So
Yay.
Please welcome to the Next Stop Everywhere Gmail, everybody. Talon Schultz. And Talon is apparently a 4th Doctor fan because his profile pic is of Tom Baker. So I'm guessing he's a 4th Doctor fan. So Talon writes in, "Hello there. If you are also Star Wars fans, this is where you say General Kenobi." I see what you did there. Talon says, "I enjoy listening to your podcast." Yay! So we really appreciate you listening in. I found it a few months ago and really enjoyed listening. It has become one of my favorite Doctor Who podcasts. Yeah, that's always good to hear. We certainly try. Now, I know in this next podcast you will be discussing The Doctor's Daughter. This episode is one of my favorites from the David Tennant era. Of course, I love Tennant as the Doctor, and his performance in this was especially brilliant in the end after Jenny has been, quote, killed, unquote. I also enjoyed Donna in the story. Her interactions trying to get Tennant to accept Jenny as his daughter, unquote, quote, unquote, were brilliant bits. Also enjoyed seeing Martha back. I like to call stories like this multi-companion episodes, kind of like multi-Doctor episodes. Makes sense. Where they take a companion from the past and bring them back. Jenny was great as well. If you want more Jenny, she has returned in audio, like Jenny the Doctor's daughter, and comics, the Doctor Who: The Lost Dimension. Yeah, that came out a while ago, and from Titan Comics. And Talon adds, "I'll finish here. Thanks for the great podcast." Well, you're very welcome, Talon. Thank you for listening. And Talon adds, in parentheses, Talon like the bird claw, Schultz like from Hogan's Heroes, just in case you need to know how to pronounce my name. And signs off, Talon Schultz from Homer, Alaska.
Yay, Alaska.
So, salute.
Cool. Very nice. Very good. That was great.
So,
thank you, Talon.
we're getting Next Stop Everywhere listeners above the lower 48. So that's great,
that's
right?
Cool. Yeah.
It's very cool. So, welcome to Next Stop Everywhere, Talon, and thank you so much for checking out our podcast. And I'm sure Jesse will add his appreciation on that.
Absolutely. It is so great to hear from you, and please keep the feedback coming. It is always great to hear from a new listener. Speaking of a listener, Holly Mack.
Great listener.
Great listener. She says, hey, Charles, Jesse, and David.
And great special guest companion, I might add.
Absolutely. I forgot how good this episode was. You'd think that the Doctor would learn about sticking his hand to do things that he doesn't know what will happen. But then again, This is the Doctor that we're talking about. You tell him not to do something, the likelihood of him doing it is very good. Good on Donna for sticking up for Martha and not wanting her to be forgotten, that she is still out there and possibly alive and can be rescued. I agree.
Those companions have to look after each other because apparently the Doctor won't.
Sometimes. Very good point, Charles. Love the fact that Donna was the one to name Jenny. Love the running gag still that people who meet the Doctor and Donna think they're a couple. So she's in my camp. Martha, no, you didn't start a war. It was already started when you landed. Things just sped up. That's all. Jenny saying that the Doctor was talking like a soldier and him denying it shows hints of the Time Lord victorious Doctor, and also a foreshadowing to the conversation that River has with the Doctor about his name has two meanings during the 6th season, if memory serves. The Doctor giving Jenny a very brief, if any, very brief, if any, telling about the Time War was interesting. I really felt for Martha when she lost her half friend. The Doctor sharing, the Doctor sharing with Donna that he had been a father before and knowing it's not going to turn into a happy ending. Donna figuring out what the numbering meant is a stroke of genius and shows just how much she actually knows and what she is capable of doing. That's a very good point.
Yeah, I thought it was a good thing for Donna to be that observant and pick up on something the Doctor didn't.
Exactly. Finding out the source was a terraforming device was an interesting reveal. Martha talking to Donna and telling her that she would tire of traveling with the Doctor later. Man, I wish that was the case, knowing the actual ending of Donna's time with the Doctor. The ending with Jenny actually regenerating and heading into space for her own adventures, just like her father, is just the right touch. It's nice that her adventures continue on in Big Finish. I'll wrap it up here. Holly from Wisconsin. Thank you as always, Holly. We love your insight. Great to hear from you. So, Charles, we've got a new listener emailing us. Maybe there's other new listeners that are just saying, wow, how can I join the fun?
See, it's not just an exclusive club, you guys. Everybody can write in. We encourage that here on Next Stop Everywhere. So if you want to be like Talon and you want to be like Holly, and occasionally Dave, when Dave's not with us here being a special guest companion, you're off the hook this week. Don't worry. You don't have to write in, Dave. You showed up. You got your participation requirement in. So we'll count you as present. That's definitely. But if you want to be like everybody else and write in, we'd love to hear from you. So write to us at Next Stop Everywhere, SMG nextstopeverywhere@gmail.com. That's nextstopeverywhere@smg@gmail.com. Or on Twitter @nextstopsmg on Twitter. You can find us there, or Facebook, Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast, or Instagram @Next Stop Everywhere podcast. And Dave, where can they find you on the interwebs if they're so inclined?
Well, I do have a Facebook, and I have a Twitter and all of those, and it's just at David K. Proctor.
There you go.
That's it.
Well, see, Dave knows his Doctor Who, so everybody reach out and say hi to him. You know, now that, especially now he's been on here twice now, so you're no longer a Next Stop Everywhere freshman. You're now a sophomore.
That's right. You're getting there. Yes,
you're getting there. You're achieving that veteran status once again. All right, Jesse, how about you? Where can they reach you on the interwebs?
Well, you can find me on Twitter @JesseJacksonDFW. You can find me also on Facebook and Instagram, Jesse Jackson. You can hear me with my buddies on How Many, where we talk different pop culture topics, and I appreciate David. Dave has started listening and has said some nice things about the guys and I basically gabbing. And then, of course, Set Listing Bruce, the Bruce Springsteen podcast, where I talk to fans of music from around the world and talking about Bruce Springsteen. We just recently had one of an assistant to Little Steven and Bruce, Holly Cara Price, just recently passed away, and I had a good friend of hers share the story. This was beautiful. She had been fighting cancer for years, which was sad, but she died on the Saturday where they declared Joe Biden winner, and she got to hear that Joe Biden had been declared president, and she passed listening to Springsteen's new album. And for all things considered, that's not a bad way to go, right?
That's very sad, but yes, it's very sad that she passed.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. And we have in a few minutes, after you talk about what you do, we have a crossover episode of Next Stop Everywhere and Set Listing Bruce coming up. But Charles, how about you?
Well, as for me, of course, you reach me @Charles Skaggs on Twitter, @Charles Skaggs on Instagram. Would love it if you did, like and follow me there. And then Facebook, Facebook, Charles Skaggs in Hilliard, Ohio. And my blog of geeky things. Come on, you.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Damn good coffee and hot. Where I talk about all the stuff we talk about here on Next Stop Everywhere, your Doctor Who, Torchwood, Sarah Jane Adventures, Big Finish Audios, and more. And all kinds of comic book sci-fi news of my other podcasts for Southgate Media Group, including Deep Breath, the Phantom Zone podcast, where right now DJ Nick and I are talking The Boys, and if you'd like to hear some more emails from a certain Dave Proctor, you want to check us out because Dave's kind enough to write to us every week as we discuss episodes of The Boys, which has been a lot of fun. We've only got a couple more to go, so we'll be wrapping that up here in the next couple weeks, but it's been a lot of fun. Nick's been enjoying it, I've been enjoying it, and we're looking forward to figuring out with Jesse maybe what we're going to do next. So we'll see how that goes because, hey, we're very, very close to an episode 200 that's coming up. So we may have to plan something for that. Maybe. Probably would be a good idea, right? And then we also have, I also have Ghost with the Twin Peaks podcast they do with Zan Sprouse, where, you know, you've obviously heard her here on Next Stop Everywhere. She's wonderful, as everybody knows. And we have a ball talking David Lynch, Twin Peaks, whatever Twin Peaks related stuff that we come across. And we were supposed to get an episode out last time, but Zan has been not feeling that great lately, so we kind of took the week off. But hopefully we'll get back on track soon. So I just want to let everybody know that we're still pumping out those Ghostwood episodes. We're just kind of like on a little hiatus at the moment, but we'll be back soon. And hope everybody checks that out. In the meantime, though, if you want more of Zan and yours truly, I definitely recommend checking out our brand new side gig podcast, Drunk Cinema. We've only recorded one episode so far. Dave's got that there on his phone that he just held up. And I think Jesse checked it out not too long ago, if I recall from its Twitter post earlier today.
Yes, I did. And I especially...
What are your thoughts?
I especially enjoyed the discussion because I don't think younger fans realize the controversy of Michael Keaton, Mr. Mom being Batman. And so you guys did a good job of that. What I am shocked is how you convinced our boss to allow you to do an explicit podcast.
Yeah.
So good on you.
Right? We do have a content warning at the very beginning. So, and it was a very, I want to say it's a wonderful opening that DJ Nick was kind enough to record for us.
Yes.
So, if nothing else, you guys should check out one of our episode that we posted so far and listen to that opening because it's hilarious. And Nick was so good. He did us a solid on that one, and I'm very appreciative of what he did.
Absolutely, I agree.
But yeah, we had a lot of fun talking Batman 1989, and coming up very, very soon, we're going to be talking Ferris Bueller's Day Off, one of my all-time favorite movies.
Good.
Mine too.
So if you liked what we did with Batman 1989, wait till you get a load of what we do for Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a lot of fun, and please, everybody, check out Drunk Cinema. And since we're a brand new podcast, I'd like to ask everyone to please, if you enjoy what we do, please share our links and tell your friends about us because we're a brand new podcast trying to get off the ground, and we definitely appreciate all your help getting us out there to the peoples.
Yeah, and if I could, we need it always for all of our podcasts. Going to iTunes to give us 5-star reviews and to leave an actual review. But for a new podcast,
people don't have to give us 5-star reviews, but it's nice when they do.
If you can give us a 5-star review, if you don't want to give us 5 stars, send us an email and tell us why you can't give us 5 stars, and we'll try to work on it. But
no pressure.
Yes,
right?
A new podcast it's even more critical to get reviews. So if you can, please go check out Drunk Cinema and leave that. It will be greatly, greatly appreciated. We need that.
Well, hopefully Jesse enjoyed it, and hopefully Dave, we can get you to check it out as well.
Oh, I listened to the first one, but waiting on the second one.
I hope you enjoyed it, Dave.
I did. It's a good movie and a good discussion.
Yes.
There you go. You got 2 testimonials right there, people. What more do you need? All right. So next time on Next Stop Everywhere, episode 211 of Next Stop Everywhere. We're getting up there again. We are going to be talking, obviously, since we just talked David Tennant, we got to talk Matt Smith, right? So we're talking The Lodger from the Matt Smith era, Matt Smith's first season, Series 5, and gave us the introduction of Craig Owens in this one. And joining us is a new special guest companion here on Next Stop Everywhere, Tom Zoller, who, interestingly enough, and we're obviously going to be talking probably a little bit about this next time, designed the original Next Stop Everywhere logo for us back in the day, back in 2014 when we launched. So that was a kind of wavy one with kind of like the TARDIS traveling through space. So if you're like that logo, Tom's the guy who did that for us. A very kind gesture because Jesse's very good close friends with him and invited him on, and I'm definitely looking forward to getting to know Tom better. So Jesse, what do you got? What are your thoughts on this?
That's in 2 weeks, right? That's in 2 weeks?
Yes, you're right. 2 weeks. Yeah, because we're going to kind of slow down for the holidays. Yes, we are. I'm glad thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. So Tom Zoller, just a great guy. His comic Love and Capes. He's written My Little Pony comics. He's written some
Which
Star
has a
Trek
huge
stories.
following, by the way.
Yeah, he is. He's a great guy, and so I really am looking forward to. Huge Doctor Who fan. And then next week, instead of us skipping a week, so Alice Ashcroft is a singer-songwriter that I've had on Set Lusting Bruce twice, and at the last time we were on, just kind of casually, I mentioned I did a Doctor Who podcast, and her eyes like saucers. You do a Doctor Who podcast? I love Doctor Who. And so she and I talked this past week, a little bit over an hour. She talked about her Doctor Who fandom, how it's all mixed up with Christmas with her. She talks about her favorite companions, her stories. And so that is a special episode that'll be out next week. So you don't have to miss an episode.
Yeah, we'll be releasing that as a bonus episode.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
and then after that will be, the week after that will be episode 211 when we
Right.
talk the Lodger. So we'll kind of get back to the main discussions.
Yeah, so if you're scoring at home, this is not an actual episode. This is a bonus, just totally free. You don't have to pay anything extra for this. We're just throwing it out there for you because that's how much we love you.
To be fair, they don't pay us for anything. So
We don't need to talk about that.
yeah, if you want to pay us for
Dave,
stuff, that's
thank
cool.
you so much for joining us. Yeah, especially Big
PayPal
Finish,
link.
especially Big Finish Audio. Like,
Yeah,
you don't
you
even
know.
got to pay us. If you could just give us free CDs, we would love it. Dave, thank you so much. You were wonderful. I love you joining us, and I love all the emails you send, the feedback you give, and it's just always amazing.
I appreciate that. Thanks for having me.
We definitely appreciate what you do. We appreciate the fact that you're such a great person who participates and becomes a part of this podcast. That's kind of what we'd like to do. We wanted to do. We want to get people involved so that we can make our listeners feel like they're part of the podcast. And so it's great that you do that. And you're welcome back anytime. We loved having you on there and on here. And I hope you had a good time.
I did. This was great. One of the highlights of November 2020. So,
Exactly. Well, hey, and, we just had Doctor Who's 57th anniversary this week. So it's kind of nice that, around the anniversary time, we got an episode out and you were able to join us for that. So it's very cool. Very appreciative. So as we get ever closer to that 60th anniversary, so fingers crossed we get another multi-doctor special in 3 years.
Indeed. There's
And
a lot of people we'd like to see again.
And
Yep.
not surprising, but still was officially confirmed for the holiday episode coming that we have a returning favorite.
And everybody, tell Christopher Eccleston when he does those Big Finish audios that you like him and you really want him to do more Doctor Who so that he comes back for the 60th, because that would be great, right?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, we kind of have to work this a little bit, guys. We have to make it a little smooth. We got to kind of massage this one a little bit and get him back, coax him back. All right. So everybody, thank you so much for listening. Come on back. Like Jesse said, we're going to have a bonus episode next week. And then in 2 weeks, we'll return with episode 211 when we talk The Lodger with Tom Zoller. And we'll see you next time right here on Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.